it's clear to me because I've studied the archetype, but I'm happy to answer these questions anytime there's confusion. So if there's more confusion about this, I can do another video, a longer video. But it's time to go ahead and start the book study now. And I see that the chat's been rather active, and I've even got a super chat back there. So let me go ahead and bring in my co-host. Actually, shoot, Al, I'm sorry, buddy. I didn't even send you the link. I got so excited. Actually, I was running up against time a little bit, and forgot to send you the link before we started. So hopefully you're awake, buddy, this time. Let me send you that link here. And okay, the link is sent. If you're here, if you're listening, the link is sent. Put my headphones on so I can hear you when you come in. Turn my air back on. All right, let me welcome the chat a bit while I'm waiting on Big Al. Let's see. Team Ghost Planet was first. Welcome to you, as always. Crispy, great to see you, Crispy. Channel member, good to see you there. Alec Purdue, great to see you, sir. Gigawatt 1.21 gigawatts is here. Great to see you. Nathaniel Zalozball, it's been a while, I think. Good to see you there. Anakin Solo, welcome. Gentle Savage, good to see you there. Young Justice Season 5, meh. I didn't even bother watching Young Justice Season 3. I'm like, no, they're already taking it places I'm not interested in it. First two seasons were epic, and the video game, the bridge, the first two seasons were wonderful, but just me. My dear sweet sound engraver is here as usual. Darth Enigma, and a super chat from Mr. Owen Lister. Thank you very much, Owen Lister, for the super chat. $9.99, great. Says, hey, Prof, I'm currently listening to Gods of Mars, the second installment of the John Carter series. I'm at the point where he has to save the princess from a cult. I'm really loving John Carter. Yeah, Burroughs is, I like the way Ray Bradbury characterized him the best. He's not the greatest writer. He's not the greatest prose stylist, but it's you'll be hard pressed to find a better romantic. And Bradbury meant the old definition of that word romantic, like, a romance is an adventure, is a wonderful, wraps you up in the adventure of it all. And that's Burroughs. It's just wonderful. Tarzan, John Mars, all the other great stories he wrote. So I'm glad you're enjoying that. It's been ages since I've read through all of those, so I should get back to them myself. Anybody else new here is active in the chat anyway? Let's see. I believe I got everybody. They got more people watching, obviously, but those are the active chat members. And here we have, at long last, it's been a while, folks, but we have back with us Mr. Darth Sever. Hello, sir.
You've kept me waiting long enough, Professor.
I'm sorry. Yeah, wait, we're 5 minutes over. I've gone more. I've kept you waiting longer. Let's just be honest.
Dark Lords have little patience.
What? Sorry. You release the force chokehold on me now.
You're lucky, right. I like your face.
It's a pretty face. So, how are you, sir?
I'm doing all right. Just sitting here waiting for you to wrap up and going, does he know he didn't send me the link?
Yeah, I popped over. I was like, where is he? Oh.
It's like, well, let me bring in, oh, wait a minute. I'm like, yep, he forgot to send me the link.
Before we start the actual study, did you, by any chance, ever go back and listen to the rest of those Tales of the Jedi audio dramas? The
Dark Lords of the Sith? Yet. No, okay. Not yet. Sorry.
I know. I'll just ask you about it whenever you finish it. But yeah, there we go. See?
No, I was like, getting this one and learn a little bit more about Mace Windu.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't think tonight will take us very long because we have this short preface and then these two chapters, which are introducing and getting us underway. We are going to talk about them and read some
very
portions.
Interesting character snippets, though.
Mm-hmm.
I really, there are a few little bits and bobs in here that I thought were really kind of intriguing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lot to talk about. It's really good. So obviously this takes place in the Clone Wars era, which is obviously between episodes 2 and 3. And pretty much all you need to know, you don't even have to read a lot of Clone War literature from the EU, or even, the animated series and the places where it did sort of keep true to the EU. You don't really have to know much about that. You just have to know what the episode 2 set up as the Clone Wars. Mm-hmm. Mace is reeling a bit. We find out some really cool things about Mace. We are in his perspective. He also keeps a journal. He has a he speaks into the microphone to keep a journal for a time, and he's reeling from the events at Geonosis. Remember, he killed Jango Fett, and at that point, Count Dooku's betrayal was announced. Like, they realized it was Dooku who was behind this. They realized there was a separatist movement. They realized that it had been going on for a while, gaining traction, and all through, we know, of course, Chancellor Palpatine, Lord Sidious's machinations, but they don't know that yet. And we find out that Mace Windu has an interesting power. He has the power in the Force, because the Force gives people these specific gifts and whatnot. And his specific power in the Force is to look at a situation, an object, a person, whatever it is, and find the Shatterpoint. Basically meaning that they give the example of a crystal, something that's very hard, like almost unbreakable, but there'll be a certain point in the construction of something where all of the pressures, and if just enough force is applied just to that point, it could shatter. Kind of like pressure points on a human body, something similar to like that.
Kind of like I also kind of thought of a keystone, like that one little thing that's if it's removed, if something happens to it, so much will cave in.
Yeah, and he can also do that with situations too. So when he saw Dooku there on Geonosis, he realized in that moment, and he also says the Shatterpoint of situations doesn't stay the same. In this moment in time, that person doing that thing is a Shatterpoint that could take off the situation. So the whole he saw that the whole separatist movement, the Clone Wars themselves, could have been averted if he had killed Dooku. But he couldn't, because Dooku had been his friend at one time, and he could not bear doing that. We start to build the character of Mace Windu, and you can tell me what you think of his character. Actually, before we get too much farther in now, what did you always thought of Mace Windu before reading this? Just your initial thoughts of him as a character.
Woefully underused in the films.
Yeah.
I would love to have seen more of him. When you have an actor like Samuel L. Jackson, you kind of want a little more fire under him, even though he is a Jedi. But they establish in this book very quickly that there are aspects of his character that were never touched on in the films that I would have liked to have seen.
Yeah.
I mean, one comes in later, and I'll mention now. It's like he likes to fight.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the things I was going into as well. Yeah. The prequels really did, as did the original trilogy to a great degree, but I think the prequels even more so, packed so many cool world building elements in there. But the main storyline just had to stick with Anakin's trajectory. So as a result, you're left with all these characters and places and storylines and tensions that you'd love to see fleshed out into another story. Now, luckily, the EU did that. I've been watching Sound Engraver play some Final Fantasy games, and I'm enjoying, that's a lot. It's great. It's nice, but I'm at the end of every game, I'm kind of like, so that's it? They're just going to start a whole new universe? Like, there were so many loose ends, so many cool ways you could have delved in and told the story of this character and what happened with that and what was the history of this, and nobody's doing that for Final Fantasy, at least not to my knowledge. But the EU at least started doing that immediately. And then, of course, the Clone Wars series, the animated series, was telling the stories and whatnot. And some are great.
And that is a aspect that I've never got into. Is Clone Wars. That's still something I need to one day figure out how to finally tackle it.
Yeah. From an EU perspective, the Clone Wars series up to season 7, don't worry about that, is there are a lot of discrepancies with the EU continuity that was already established, and that's a problem because you see that this producer just didn't care much about really following EU continuity, which they should have, because at that time it was considered canon. But I will say that there are some really great writers who were attached to the show, and you just can't deny there were some wonderful arcs and wonderful episodes. And if you can kind of somehow smush the two puzzle pieces in together to make them work, it's worth watching certain arcs and certain episodes of that, certainly. But the EU gave us so many wonderful books and comics from that Clone Wars era, and they started long before the series came on. So where's it going? Oh yeah, so talking about Mace Windu, his character. So you're right, he likes to fight. He likes to scrap. He's also a very imposing character. At one point, the book starts with this meeting. And this is kind of a dangerous way to start a book. You can do it if it's Star Wars, because we already know the characters, we already know the tensions, we're already worrying about Palpatine there and stuff, But if these were unknown characters, you don't necessarily want to start your story with a meeting per se. That's a easy way to lose interest because it's going to be an info dump. But it works for this. And it's Mace Windu and Master Yoda are called to Chancellor Palpatine's office, and they have a courier or a messenger from this planet. Huron, sorry, let me get the name right. Pelik Ba is the city on it. Harun Kal. Harun Kal is this planet. And we find out. Oh, go ahead.
I just want to say, but like before we get to the meeting, though, that his the private journals that he wrote, it was kind of neat to get more inside of his head about how much is like it could have all ended if I had just made that one decision.
Yeah.
And it's kind of neat seeing how a Jedi, someone like a Jedi, someone like Mace Windu, as powerful and as noble as he is, can be affected by something like that, and how it affects him continuously.
Yeah, we really do see, because he's capable of fighting. He likes to fight. He wants to end the violence, but he couldn't end Dooku because they'd once been friends, because of that love he'd felt for him. And we feel the same kind of connection, or the same thing that really troubles him. That's he's sort of a dual character in that he's capable of business. Well, actually, we'll talk about his personality here in a second. Before I go too much farther, there's been talk in the chat about the different Clone Wars series. Yeah, there was the great 2D Clone Wars series on which the 3D series was sort of, took its riff from, but this was solid. This was wonderful, and this was very much EU, related. Good stuff. Just wanted to point that out, that I do know about that. So we find this messenger here in the Chancellor Palpatine's office from this planet called Harun Kal, and this is actually Mace Windu's own native planet. He was taken there as an infant, as a 6-month-old, and trained in the Jedi ways. He did go back there when he was a child at some point to learn the ways of his home planet. He had a little more of a foundation as to where he came from. But this was his home planet, and it's a jungle planet. It's a pretty savage planet. We find that it's been colonized basically by off-worlders. The natives there are called the Koronai, and they are native Force users. They have a Force use ability, and the Jedi think that maybe during the old Sith Wars, a Jedi ship must have gotten stranded there or something, and that's who they're descended from, because they're not full-on Jedis or whatever, but they do have some capabilities with the Force. They're very not a savage people, but a wild people. They're in touch with the surroundings around them. They know how to survive, and they have certain pillars of their culture and of their psychologies. And Yoda says he sees this in Mace Windu as well. Their first pillar is your duty to yourself, to your own personal honor. The second pillar is your duty to your family, your immediate family, your wife, your children, or whatever. The third is your duty to your tribe, your specific tribe, Windu tribe, and Mace's tribe, considered there. And then lastly, your duty to your herd, because the Koronai have these big beasts called grassers, and which they kind of clear the jungle and let them have grassland to do crops on and whatnot. So all of those duties trump each other. Your duty is to your honor, but if you need to be true to your family and that sacrifices your honor, that's fine. Your duties to your family, but if your duty to your tribe requires you to sacrifice your duty to your family, so be it. And if your duty to your herd causes you to sacrifice your duty to your tribe, then so be it. And Yoda sees these pillars in Windu, but basically instead of his tribe is the Jedi and his herd is the Republic. So we see that kind of building up his character, who he is, and where his progression is going to go in here.
They kind of make it sound almost like Native American, kind of getting that kind of vibe, that
one of the tribes or something.
Yeah, almost not quite nomadic, but living off, one with the land. They got the herd, they get the buffalo. Things like that.
Yeah, very similar to any sort of close to the land people. Now the foreigners who come to the planet, the Koran called them the Baliwai, sort of a derogatory term for them. And they're the ones who set up the cities, 2 or 3 cities. They're the ones who kind of sort of hold sway power over the planet. And the Baliwai have aligned with the separatists because the Baliwai don't like to really truly abide by Republic rules and regulations about how they treat their people and whatnot. So they decided they're going to go along with the separatists. The Jedi had decided to send out Jedi to certain planets to try to help the people who might want to revolt against separatist governments. And that's what this Jedi character by the name of Depa Billaba did. Depa Billaba, you saw her in episode 1. She was in the prequels there. As I said, they if you watched Rebels, she is supposed to be Kanan Jarrus's Jedi Master, but that's not the story that we see of her in the EU. She was Mace Windu's Padawan. Let me I'll share the screen here just to show you, to remind everybody. Where's the okay. Yeah, so there's am I showing it? Is that sharing? Yeah. There's Depa Billaba, her character. You might remember her, with the Jedi there in episode 1. She's Mace Windu's Padawan. We find out that she there are 6 forms of lightsaber training, of lightsaber fighting, 6 forms. And I think this pretty much EU people trained are more versed in the EU than I am, maybe know. But I think that the old idea of the forms of the lightsaber work, I think that came from Knights of the Old Republic. It might have an earlier source, but there's 6 forms of it. But now we find out there's actually a 7th form that Mace Windu himself created, and it's called Vapad. And it's named after this predatory animal, Vapad. And only Windu was the master of it, but Depa Billaba, his Padawan, is the only one to have ever mastered that form from him. Mm-hmm. Now we don't know a lot about that form of Jedi fighting yet, but we're hinted at it's very vicious because it's named after a predatory animal. It is you don't want to see Vapad in action. It's serious, So we get the hints of that. We know that Mace Windu and Depa are there. Now Depa Billaba had been sent out to the planet of Harun Kal to try to help the natives there, help the Koranai possibly resist against the separatist government, the Baliwai, and come alongside the Republic army. But she's been missing there. She's been there a long time, and they haven't heard from her. And this agent who's come to the Palpatine's office there has brought a recording. There's been stories of a Jedi helping the Koranai really enact some savage acts of brutalism on even innocent bystanders. And they bring a video recording, or a holo recording rather, of these this family, this tribe that was just just villagers or whatever, who were just slaughtered, brutally slaughtered. And one of a woman's mouth, a dead woman's mouth, had been like clamped shut, and a little crystal, a recording, was stuck in her mouth as a message to them.
It was very disturbing.
Yeah.
And I liked when they were talking about the method that these people had died, and even Palpatine was just taken aback by the fact that it was a metal knife or some kind of a physical,
not a viro blade or a lightsaber, but
an actual hardened substance that was slicing, and they found that so
disturbing. Shocking,
I was trying to find a better word than disturbing, but
horrifying, even.
Horrifying, terrifying.
Yeah, that's one thing we find out about the jungles there with the bacteria, with the mold and all of the stuff that grows there. Blasters don't work in the jungle. They'll eventually just atrophy or whatever. Lightsabers, any kind of energy weapon won't work. So the Koranai they call them slug throwers, basically guns, and metal knives, and stuff like that. Yeah, it's a very gruesome scene, and we do see that this messenger comes there and is already talking, like, because he knows more than Mace Windu at this point. Like Depa Billaba could possibly be the the cause of these deaths in this horrific scene that they see before them. And Mace Windu like looks at the messenger, can't help but to see all the little places on the soft little man's body where you could kill him for daring to say such a thing. He's like, no, 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 because Depa Billaba was like a daughter to Windu. She's more than just a Padawan that he trained once. They really did have like a father-daughter relationship. He loved her dearly, was very proud of her, but the recording that they found in this woman's, dead mouth. Go ahead.
You were talking about the relationship. I mean, they brought up how the Jedi aren't supposed to have these relationships.
Yeah.
And even Mace says, this is one of the reasons because of what happened with Dooku and now with Depa Billaba.
Yeah.
It's like he has a hard time separating or separating himself from them emotionally.
Yeah, exactly. And it plays out with those 4 pillars of foundational, right? Because he's got a duty to himself, then a duty to his family, Depa Billaba or whatever, but then the duty to his tribe, the Jedi, but more than that, trumps the duty to the Republic, and right. So yeah, you see those senses of duty are loyalties, at war within him. Absolutely. So they listen to this recording, and eventually Depa's voice comes on there, and she says, "I know you will come for me, Mace. You should never have sent me here, and I should never have come. But what's done can never be undone. I know you think I've gone mad. I haven't. What's happened to me is worse. I've gone sane. That's why you'll come, Mace. That's why you'll have to. Because nothing is more dangerous than a Jedi who's finally sane." So, what? What is that?
It literally gave me a chill.
Yeah.
While I was reading that and listening to it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's some dark stuff, or possibly dark stuff. You really don't know the extent of what's going on. This is a mystery. Is this really Depa? Is she being controlled? Did she really go into the dark side, or is something else going on? What's happening? And Mace is conflicted with all of those questions as well. And he decides that he needs to go there alone. And they're like, "No, you shouldn't. No, we can't lose a Master Jedi like yourself. It'd be too dangerous, or whatever." He says, "No, it needs to be me, because she is trained in Vapad, and I'm the only other person who could take her on in Vapad if it came to that." And also, it would I forgot the other reason. I just blanked on it. Had it in my mind. The danger of it. Also, somebody would need to be able to take her out if it truly came to that, if she truly fallen. Now, he doesn't even want to really think about that, but he has to kind of give that as an answer, is a reason for why he needs to go and needs to go alone. It does make sense to them. And they go ahead and let him. Okay, you go, bring her back to us. Bring her back to us. We need to either treat her if something's happened to her, or bring her to justice if she's really just committed these crimes. So
yeah, well, they say here, even if she had nothing to do with them, having a Jedi's name associated with these crimes is a threat to the public trust in the Jedi. She must answer any charge before they are ever publicly made.
Yeah. Yeah, it's because it's bad for the Republic's name. They're sending out Jedi to basically stir up and incite trouble on these planets to help the locals rebel against the separatist governments. So there's a issue of optics there. It can look bad one way and it can look really good the other way. But a Jedi causing trouble like this is certainly not good. So that is the end of the preface. Then we get into chapter 1, which is Windu actually traveling to Harun Call.
Welcome to the jungle.
Exactly. Yeah. And he travels into, I think it's like the capital city there, Pelik Ba. And the cities, of course, are mostly the Baliwai, the people, the foreigners who come there to live. The Koran, remember, they live out in the jungles.
Yeah, the off-worlders.
And we do hear that Windu himself looks Koran. So I get the sense that the native Korans there would be rather dark-skinned, like Mace Windu. I think that's the sense they're trying to say. That's not a hard and fast rule, but something, that's the sort of the look of the native Korans. Windu's very tall. We get the idea he's 6'4", I think, or something like that. And he's got an imposing, figure and presence around people. Of course, the bald head and so forth. But he's got a cover. He's not there as a Jedi. He's undercover as like a smuggler from Corellia. He's got his journal. It's like a little data pad or whatever is his journal. He's got his lightsaber hidden as a glow stick, or what's the word I'm looking for? Disguised as a glow stick in his bag and whatnot. So he arrives there, and he arrives in this little shuttle, and he talk about Pelik Ba. It's this really outer rim city. It's not a glamorous city where people go to. The reason it's valuable at all is because it's on the rim of this hyperdrive lane, basically, to where you do have to kind of stop there for a layover. Or a lot of ships do stop there, especially shipments and whatnot. So that's where the money's to be made. But he's on the ship like with this comedy duo of these two aliens, that's where comedy acts go to die, is Pelik Ba, and he gets there, and there's a customs office he has to go through. We find that the jungle, the what's the word I'm looking for? The microorganisms and all of that in the jungle are so prevalent. They'll eat away at ships. They'll eat away at all of that. So in Pelik Ba, the Baliwai have gone there, have set up these gardens, or these fields of a sterilizing crop or whatever that sterilizes all of the microorganisms and bacteria in the air, so that electronics can still function in Pelik Ba. But that also kills all of the good flora on your skin, all of the good bacteria. So as soon as they land, they have to go through a probiotic mist, a bath, to replenish the good flora on their skin, so they don't end up with skin conditions. And they're encouraged to eat certain probiotics for their digestion and so forth, because that sterilization, just to let technology work, is killing all the good bacteria as well.
Some Greek yogurt, that'll help.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Icelandic, I hear, is really good. Icelandic yogurt.
Haven't had that. We do establish. Oh, go ahead.
I'm getting a feeling we're going to have a lot of journal entries from Mace. That's going to kind of be a continuing theme.
Yeah. Yeah, we find out at one point later in the book, he's even talking about why Jedi make those entries, and what the Jedi archivists at the temple will take them and archive them, for the Jedi's history and stuff like that. So that's why he makes those. We'll hear more about that. Owen Lister for $4.99 says, on a Star Wars related note, I bought a Star Wars concept art book and storyboards of the original trilogy. That's awesome. I've got some picture books and whatnot. I don't think I have a concept art or storyboards of the original trilogy, though. That's pretty sweet. Really cool.
I got some old books floating around if I could ever get to them one day.
Yeah. Yeah, you got some good stuff there. Once he lands in customs, though, they establish pretty much right away that this is a planet where you can buy your way, into things. He's dealing with a woman, a Namordian woman. If you remember the aliens at the beginning of episode 1, the Trade Federation, those were Nimordians, just to give you that idea. So there's a female Nimordian there, and she's dealing with his customs bag, and he realizes if she looks in my bag, Nimordians can see different spectrums of light. He doesn't know if his lightsaber is fully disguised against a Nimordian, so he tries to bribe her, and she's like, more, and he bribes her, and she lets him go on past. So it's a kind of city where it's corrupt. You can get through with your bribing people. It's not exactly the up and up city. Then he goes through the probiotic mist, the bath. And this is where it gets really good. So you gotta establish your character, even for a character like Windu, who we already know is really, really bad. You don't mess with him, right? He's capable, he's competent. But you still have to establish that in the story somewhere. So we've gotten his philosophy. We've seen him, how intimidating he is, to others and whatnot. But he tries not to be. He's not a jerk. He's not a bully. But he goes through, so the people who are going through that probiotic mist, they have to get naked first, take off all their clothes, set their gear over there. And it's like a customs thing. They have to go through this mist. So he himself, takes off his clothes, takes off his gear. He's going through, and he sees up ahead of him in sort of the shower area there, these two guys with guns, like these security officers or whatever, holding their guns on the two alien comedians. I forget what kind of aliens they were, huddled over there naked in the corner. And basically it's a shakedown. It's like, it's so good. Let me find the part where he says it. Where do I have it here? I did. Yeah. Okay.
There are faux Fahan and a Kitanak.
Yeah. Oh shoot! Come on! I got to get to this part because it's so good. I want to read it when he goes through there.
This is the one where he goes, "I'm a prophet." I can.
Yeah. What page is that on?
40 in mine.
Okay. Okay. Oh yeah, I'm way back. Okay, I need to go forward. All right. Yeah. Okay. So he said, "I'm a prophet." Yeah. So so he goes and sees this, and he sees these security officers trying to shake down these poor comedians there, and he says, Mace flipped up a thumb, or he says, let me go back a little bit farther. Mace went still. Probi mist condensed to rivulets and trickled down his bare skin. I can read your mind, he said darkly. You only have 3 ideas, and all of them are wrong. Huh? Mace flipped up a thumb. 1. You think being armed and ruthless means you can do whatever you want. He folded his thumb and flipped up his forefinger. You think nobody will stand up to you when they're naked. He folded that one again and flipped up the next. And you think you're going to look inside my bag. Oh, he's a funny one. The smaller man spun his stun baton, stepped around. You think you're funny? See, he said, you're a comedian. He's like, nope, I'm a prophet. And he looks at the comedian, says, see the difference? And I won't read the whole fight scene, but it's pretty sweet. They're trying to take him down, and he very effortlessly just knocks him about, breaks one guy's nose. Before that, though, I should have mentioned, before he even gets involved, he does have this moment of interiority where he says, my mission and my cover, I should just let that happen. I should just go along with this because that's not, but I can't. A Jedi can't do that. He can't sit there and watch injustice be done. You can't watch people be victimized and not do something around you, He does get the people, he says, the guys have got a broken nose and they're reaching for their blaster, and he's like, careful. He said, you tripped and you fell. That's embarrassing. It'll take a little while to get over, but it's no big deal. He said, but if you had a blaster malfunction, then you die. So the guy's like, not going to touch his blaster anymore. So finds out these are basically the police there. It's just corruption there, but a really good way to really just, you see him so competent in fighting, and we know that he's capable of this with a pod. We know he's got this sort of animalistic energy in him, but we don't see that come out at all. We see him very cold, not cold, but very calculated, very calm. He's not trying to harm them any more than he needs to disable them, so they're not a threat to him or the people anymore. So he's very under control, self-controlled at all costs, and we're going to see that conflict within him as we move forward. Really cool scene.
Like he shouldered his kit bag and walked out in the blazing tropical afternoon. I was like, I'm sure the kit bag on there somewhere it says "bad mother." Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly. Shaft,
like his wallet in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah,
it's the one with "bad mother" on it.
And as he goes out, he's it's a city. It's a corrupt city. You got people around you sizing you up, trying to see if they can victimize you. And it says, militia faces, human, are too close to call. Looking at Mace, seeing only a Koran in off-world clothes. Their eyes went dead cold, blank, measuring. After a while, hostile eyes all look alike. Mace kept alert and concentrated on projecting a powerful aura of "don't mess with me," which is kind of what you have to do in a city. There have been studies on people's walks, different kind of walks or postures, the way you carry yourself. This is what people who are going to try and pickpocket you or try to assault you or try to con you or whatever, they're looking for the people who are unsure or just kind of more, politely looking around, more naive. If you've got that sort of, business, I'm going to the place where I'm going. These are the people that people don't mess with, or even panhandlers won't come up and approach you, or anything because they're like, not that guy,
Yeah. Several weeks ago when we did, the Outlaw Josie Wales. And there's that scene in there where there's four Union soldiers and Josie's standing there, and after the fight, the chief asks him, like, how'd you know which one was going to draw? It's like I knew it was going to be that guy because he's the one with the crazy eyes.
Yeah.
It's like the other one. It's like he wasn't going to do nothing. He was too scared.
Yeah.
It's like the other one, he was crazy. He was going to do
it. You can read their eyes or posture. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Mace goes out and he finds his contact, who's basically a spy. This woman who owns a bathhouse and owns all these kinds of things around, and she's this very talkative spy. She's kind of likable. She's very this old woman who just wants.
I kind of like her. I kind of feel bad, but
Yeah.
What happened?
She pretty much dies. She's getting ready to give him some information, and they're outside. She's taking him somewhere, and there's a militia movement going on over here, and a shot comes out and hits, and like knocks her arm off. Now he's over her as a Jedi. He's trying to pinch close the brachial artery, trying to with the Force, trying to keep her alive, keep her talking. Also, get her to tell him what he needs to know. Who are my contacts? Where do I need to go? What's the, and she's going into shock. You don't understand. You don't understand. She just can't tell him. And then the militia come upon him and said, get a step away from the woman. And he said, this woman's going to die. He's like, you're no doctor. And they stun him. Boom.
Yeah. And he's using the force to keep
her alive.
The artery closed.
Yeah.
Keep her from bleeding.
Mm-hmm.
They knock him out and that's it. Poor woman,
Yeah, she dies.
Yeah, I guess I assume she died.
I mean, that's as far as he knows in the next chapter. He wakes up in the police station, basically there. He's restrained to the chair. He's there for a while. And this Colonel Gepton comes in, this man who is himself of Koran descent, but his family migrated to the city at some point, and we do have Mace talking about, the predators in the city, how it's, what's the real jungle, the city or the actual jungle? Because either place there's predators, it's cold, it's dangerous, it's hard to survive either place, So this Colonel Gepton comes in, and we find basically they've discovered that Mace Windu's a Jedi. They've discovered the lightsaber hidden as a glow stick in his bag. They've got guards with their blasters trained upon Windu's face, if he should try anything and whatnot. And Windu's still kind of calculating out this situation. He says, I could just be silent and make this guy work for it for a while because Jedi have this patience. He said, but I've got to get to Depa. Could Depa actually be involved in some of this thing? The faster I get to her, the better, the more chance for her redemption or whatever. He's worried about his daughter figure there. So he agrees to talk a little bit and basically find out that Gepton figures he's probably there to take care of the Jedi, the rogue Jedi in the jungle, Depa Billaba. And so Gepton is thinking, well, I could give you up to the Separatists and get a reward, pretty good for my career, or you could take care of my Jedi problem. And he's like, so he accepts a bribe, and it's really cool because Gepton's a character who's really, he seems to have it under control. He seems to know, and Mace has to revise his threat level assessment of him a couple times in their talk. Once he realizes he's probably Koran, he's probably got a little force ability too.
Do you ever have you seen Casablanca?
Yeah, of course.
He kind of reminds me of Claude Rains' character.
Yeah, Claude Rains. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I can
definitely
see that.
has that vibe to him.
But Mace is only going to take so much. I do like this.
It's like he could be bad, but maybe he's not. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's kind of that up in the air.
Mm-hmm. Mace decides that it would be best for him to go ahead and be let go in order to take care of Depa Billaba, because that's what he's there for anyway. But he's not going to be pushed around but so much. So Gepton eventually reveals that he's expecting a bribe for this. So Gepton's eyes glinted the same. Mace finally understood what they were talking about. How much reassurance do you need? Gepton's eyes glinted the same flat sheen as the sheer plains of the gravel in the walls. 10,000. I'll give you 4. Gepton scowled at him. Mace stared back. His face might have been carved from stone. I can keep you here a very long time. Mace said 3,500. You insult me. What, am I not even worth haggling with? We are haggling. 3,250. I'm wounded, Master Jedi. You mean Jedi Master, Mace said. 3,000. Gepton's face blackened, but after a moment, wasted, trying to match uncompromising stares with Mace Windu. A losing proposition. He shook his head and shrugged again. 3,000, I suppose. That little at the end of it, Mace is like, by the way, I'm in control here, which was very cool. So he's let loose. He's let loose back into the streets. And now he's got to figure out, he lost his contact there, so he doesn't know who else he's supposed to go contact, how he's supposed to get into the jungle,
And of course, Gepton was, quote unquote, playing with his lightsaber a little bit.
Yeah. Gepton had his lightsaber out. Yeah, that'll come into play here in a moment. Owen Lister, $4.99. Thank you, sir. So this story gives me a spy thriller vibes, like James Bond or North by Northwest. There's an element to that. Absolutely. I mean, Mace Windu is sent in undercover, so yeah, in a lot of ways, he's a spy on a covert mission in a planet. Yeah, there's absolutely vibes of that. Absolutely. Good point. So he's out there and he's thinking, okay, what am I going to do? Where am I going? And eventually he gets this sort of nudge in the Force. This person saying, follow me, basically, this little nudge in the Force. And he looks up ahead and it's this young guy, keeps looking over his shoulder every time Mace will get kind of behind because the crowd's really difficult to get through. The person nudges him forward a little bit. Looks like he might be even smiling at him up in the distance. But I do like when Mace is kind of getting through the crowd. It says, I got it underlined again here. Oh, where'd it go? Yeah, okay. The young Corrin clearly wanted him to follow. Each time the crowds would close between them and Mace would lose him, another force nudge would draw it to his eyes. The crowds had their own pace. The faster Mace tried to move, the more resistance he met. Elbows and shoulders and hips, and even one or two old-fashioned straight arms to the chest, accompanied by unfriendly assessments of his walking manners, and offers to fill that particular gap in his education. To these, he responded with a simple, "You don't want to fight me." He never bothered to emphasize this with the force, and look in his eyes was enough. One excitable young man didn't say a word, deciding instead to communicate with a wild overhand aimed at Mace's nose. Mace gravely inclined his head as though offering a polite bow, and the young man's fist shattered against the frontal bone of Mace's shaven skull. He briefly considered passing along some friendly advice to the excitable youth about the virtues of patience, nonviolence, and civilized behavior, or at least a mild critique of the fellow's sloppy punch. But the agony on his face as he knelt cradling his broken knuckles put Mace in mind of Yoda's maxims, that the most powerful lessons without words are taught. So he only shrugged apology and walked along. Again, I'm keep reading these little instances and we see how competent and how awesome Mace is. But what we're also seeing is opportunities for him to really kind of go ballistic, but he doesn't. He's under control. He's got that power within him. He's got that animalistic, but he's self-control. His duty is to ultimately has herd the Republic, you don't want to fight me. I don't even use the force to tell you that. You don't want to fight me.
Like, you don't want to do it, son.
Exactly.
Don't make that mistake.
Exactly. At one point, though, this person's leading him, and he ends up getting led into basically a dead-end alley. And it seems that he's been led into an ambush. And it does say, this is the part you were mentioning, Al, before. It says, this was about to get interesting. Mace felt only a warm anticipation. After a day of uncertainty and pretense, of holding on to his cover and offering bribes and letting thugs walk free, he was looking forward to doing a little straightforward, uncomplicated butt whipping.
I was so shocked to hear that word just kind of like put in there.
Butt whipping. Yeah. But then he caught the tone of his own thoughts and he sighed. No Jedi was perfect. All had flaws against which they struggled every day. Mace's few personal flaws were well known to every Jedi of his close acquaintance. He made no secret of them. On the contrary, it was part of Mace's particular greatness that he could freely acknowledge his weakness and was not afraid to ask for help in dealing with them. Again, we're seeing, all these signs of an aspirational hero here, which I really love. So he takes out his lightsaber once these mercenaries, basically he figures them to be, are pulling their guns out and everything. But then his lightsaber, as you hinted at, Al, just fizzles out. And he realizes the power charge can't be, Gepton. He exhausted the power in his lightsaber. So he's got a lightsaber, but can't use that. The mercenaries call out that, we don't just have these guns, and these two speeders appear basically over Windu, which can, there's really hard to get any kind of cover from them at that point. So he figured, he says, okay, fine, I'm coming out. Not gonna fight. I'm unarmed or whatever. And he's talking to them as they're asking him to come forward to restrain him. He says, you guys are good. I've been captured. I've been tried to capture. Many people have tried to capture me, on different kind of planets, different levels of weaponry, different all of this and that, and you guys are good. And he and the people are like, oh, that's it means a lot coming from you. Now get over here. Now you're caught. Now get over here and do this. And they say now the lightsaber. You are pretty prepared, better than most. Mace balanced his lightsaber on his palm. But like all those others, you've forgotten the only piece of equipment that would actually do you any good. Yeah, what's that? Mace's voice went cold and his eyes went colder. An ambulance. Also, the leader smiled.
Besides all of them, I was also, for some reason, the word ambulance. It seems like such a
more of a common word, not so otherworldly.
Not one you would think to hear in
in
the Star Wars
universe. Yeah.
context.
Well, the challenge is how do we come up with the word in that moment that's more alien, but is still very clear to the reader, so they know what it means, because you can't
Right.
take a few moments to explain. So yeah, I get what you're saying, but yeah, it's kind of a question there of that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I just
Hmm.
it just it but it did make me go, "Ambulance."
Yeah, yeah,
Just like in, Lord of the Rings movie, he goes, "Meat's back on the menu, boys." I'm like, "Menu?"
yeah, yeah. That's true. I didn't think about that. You're right. Well, I guess they would
Yeah.
have had that at the Green Dragon and stuff. I don't know. I'm just looking at the chat. A couple things I missed where people tagged me. Sound Engraver said, "I love the details of this diverse world, or we can really enjoy more dessert." Or we can really enjoy more dessert with Lucasfilm. Yeah, exactly. The details of the world. Owen Lister pointed out something down here. Mace is coming across as a kung fu master from a Bruce Lee movie. Very much so. Very much so. Yeah. Um, Now we do get this moment where he says these people they misunderstand what a lightsaber is. He said it's not just the blade. He talked
I
about how. Go ahead.
I love this part
You want to
of him
read it, or you
talking
want me
about.
to read it?
Oh, you can read it. I remember I was like, I just love that it gives you an insight into the connection between a Jedi and the lightsaber.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really well done. I'll go ahead and read it. So he tells them they need an ambulance. They're like, "Give me the lightsaber now." He says, "Sure." And he says, his lightsaber tumbled through a long arc in the force. He felt them all fractionally relax as he tosses it. The slightest easing of a trigger pressure, the tiniest shift of adrenaline charged concentration. They relaxed because he was now unarmed, because none of them understood what a lightsaber was. Mace had begun the construction of his lightsaber when he was still a Padawan. On the day he first put hand to metal, he had dreamed that lightsaber for 3 years already, had imagined it so completely that it existed in his mind, perfect in every detail. Its construction was not creation, but actualization. He took mental reality and made it physical. The thing of metal and gemstone, of particle beam and power cell, was only an expression. His real lightsaber was the one that existed only in the part of the Force Mace called his mind. A lightsaber was not a weapon. Weapons might be taken or destroyed. Weapons were unitary entities. Many people even gave names to their weapons. Mace would no more give a name to his lightsaber than he would to his hand. He was not the boy who first imagined its shape 41 years before, nor was his lightsaber identical to the first image in the dreams of a 9-year-old boy. With each new step in his ever deepening understanding of the Force and his place in it, he had rebuilt his lightsaber, remade it. It had grown along with him. His lightsaber reflected all he knew, all he believed, all he was. Which is why it required no effort, no thought, to seize his lightsaber's tumbling hand grip through the Force and fire it like a bullet. It screamed through the air, and its butt took the talker between the eyes with a hollow stone-on-wood whack. The impact flipped him off his feet, unconscious or dead, before he hit the ground. His hands spasmed on the blaster, and it gushed energy. Through the Force, Mace nudged the blaster's muzzle to sweep the talker's partner and blow him spinning to the ground. Mace guided it farther upward, and hammering energy chewed an arc of chunks from the walls before it battered the steering vanes of the speeder bikes above him. I mean, it's just like
Yeah.
ba-bam, 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 like, dang. And
It's
that's his
like
power through finding the Shatterpoint. Go ahead.
a Jedi is never unarmed.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
If they have connection with the Force, they are able to defend themselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's now some backup starts to come, and eventually Mace sees that young guy who had led him there with the Force nudges shows up again with a couple people, and apparently you get the idea that they're a different party. And the guy even throws Mace Windu. He says, "Here," and he throws him something in the air. Now Mace thinks it's a bomb or something, so he's reaching out in the Force to push it away. But in the Force, he recognizes it. He recognizes it as Depa Balaba's lightsaber because it's very familiar to him. Her lightsaber. So he takes it. Now he's got a working lightsaber.
Yeah. And the guy knows who he is because he goes, "Hey, Windu, happy
Yeah.
name day." It's like happy
Happy
birthday.
name. Yeah. Exactly. Depa's lightsaber. Now the mercenaries had blown some holes through the roofs of the houses there. Mace is concerned about people, that might be inside and whatnot. So the guy is helping him escape. Was that fun or what? Smiley grinned at Mace, calling him Smiley because he doesn't know his name, and winked. Come on, Windu, tell me that didn't warm your shorts a little. Mace dropped to the rooftop and angled Deppa's blade to a neutral position. Who are you? I'm the guy who just slipped your jiffies off the roaster. Let's go, man. Militia will be here any minute. To the Koronai across the alley were the two Koronai across the alley were already sliding down the slender ropes toward the ground. These are the people with Smiley there. Smiley and his friends hooked grapnels that might have been made of polished brass vine over the lip of the roof and paid out the rope below. His friend slung his slug rifle and slipped over the edge. Mace scowled toward the column of smoke and now rose from the great gaping hole of the second speeder bike that had left in the building blocks away. Smiley caught his look and chuckled. Love that fungus. Ate his fly-by-wire. Saved me a shot. Mace muttered, I'm just hoping nobody was home. Yeah, think of the mess, Smiley gave him, that smile with a white grin. Forget about identifying bodies, huh? Better just to hose it out. Mace looked at him. I have a feeling, he said slowly, that you and I aren't going to be friends. And that's what's got my heart pumping pound water, let me tell you. Smiley took a rope in his hands and beckoned. On the double, Windu. What do you want, an invitation? Flowers and a box of candy? The cascade of Deppa's lightsaber highlighted both their faces, the color of sunlight in the jungle. What I want, Mace told him, is for you to tell me what you were doing with this blade. The lightsaber? The blue in his eyes sparkled with manic fire. That's my credentials, he said, and disappeared below the rim. Really great little cliffhanger to leave it on, for next week. So who are these guys? They got Deppa's blade. Does that mean they did something to her and took her blade? Or are they her emissaries? He doesn't know what's going on. But man, that's good writing. Matthew Stover's really lighting it on fire with this dialogue, with this, with the prose. Is good stuff. He's a good writer. Really good stuff. So that ends our chapters for the night. Now, did you anything in that chapter I missed out, or do you want to talk about more about the lightsaber or anything? Or
no, but that was a very probably my favorite part.
The lightsaber part
of this, right? That about the lightsaber, how it's like he imagined in his mind, he rebuilt it over and over and over again. It would change as he changed until he actually put metal hands to metal. I just thought that was kind of
represented all he knew, all he was.
Great couple of paragraphs.
Yeah, especially in the history of the EU, it's fascinating because the Jedi were eventually Daibendu monks, the Jedi. And they sought for a balance in the EU history of both light and dark. And it's not until the Rakatan Empire comes to Tython, and they're all about the dark side, and they're the ones that bring the idea of the lightsaber to them. So the lightsaber, this wonderful weapon that's so force balanced to a Jedi, and it's a great accompaniment to a light side Jedi, eventually came from the dark side before it was honed and whatnot. Because in Dawn of the Jedi, they're using just steel, a blade. But yeah, so it's an interesting. It's the relationship between a Jedi and its lightsaber is, and that's part of the hero's journey too. The hero needs a weapon that's uniquely suited to them. One of my favorite episodes, or one of the cool little moments in the 3D animated Clone Wars, was when you got these younglings and it's time for them to create their own lightsabers, and there's a Wookiee, a rare Jedi force sensitive from Wookiees, who creates his lightsaber and chooses this special wood that's like hard as stone or whatever, and his lightsaber looks pretty cool as he tries to craft it and whatnot. But yeah, it's pretty good stuff here in these two preface and first two chapters. Got to decide what we're going to read next week, don't we? But any general thoughts from you on what we've read there, or what thoughts of what to come, because this is your first time reading it through?
Yeah, I'm interested to see where it goes. Like I said, there were a few instances of that, of like the language just kind of got me. Use of butt whooping, ambulance, and even some of the stuff that Smiley said.
Jiffy's off the roaster.
Well, that didn't bother me because that just seemed, bizarre enough to be from another galaxy. It's like, you've got, bantha breath or, something like that.
Sounded Graver said, of all the things Big Al could complain about, he picks the word ambulance.
Well, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying it, but it's enough to, like I said, if I'm watching a movie about medieval, if someone says the word phone, I'd be like, what?
Yeah.
It's that kind of a thing. It's just...
I get it. I get it.
Different.
It didn't
Yeah.
strike me that badly, but I do get what you're saying. Yeah.
Right.
You think we could read the next 3 chapters, or should we just stick to 2? Well, you call it. I don't really care.
Well, let me see. We're 3,
We
4,
could go 3 through
5.
5, or just 3 and 4 if you'd prefer to keep it short.
3 through 5. Let's do 3 through 5.
Yeah, 3 through 5. Okay.
Sure.
So chapters 3, 4, and 5 for next time.
Because that's exactly where I separated. I thought you were going to go.
Good deal. Good deal. Cool. So yeah, good start to another EU book. It's this won't take us too long if we're going at this pace, you know. But it's really solid. It's a great book. Really good. Any other stuff from you, Al? Closing things, things upcoming or whatever?
Well, I have a rewatch this Saturday night. We're watching Pacific Rim from Guillermo.
Oh, Pacific Rim. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, giant robots versus giant monsters.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Never go wrong with that.
Yeah. Owen Lister says, "Warm your shorts." So he says, "Come and tell me that didn't warm your shorts."
I mean, warm your shorts. That kind of. I'm like, what?
Well, it could mean you didn't just pee yourself because that was so fun, or it could even be a little cruder because it was so fun. Something else happened or whatever. Who knows what he's going for? But that phrase right there is enough for us, you know.
Yeah, just a little, you know, a couple phrases that kind of like just.
But this character is we're gonna find out his name. Smiley's character is an interesting character. He at times he even kind of annoyed me, but that's what his character was supposed to do. I think it'll be interesting to see what you think of him and his progression. So
if this were live action, he would probably be played by Chris Rock or someone like that. Just
Dane Cook or somebody like that, a younger one, obviously, because he's younger than that.
Or what's that guy? The one from Fifth Element who was like all nuts and crazy. With the big hair.
Yeah, Chris Tucker. Yeah.
Yeah, Tucker.
Yeah, Chris Tucker. Yeah. Yeah, Darth Enigma, the early Jedi used Force-imbued blades. They were metal blades and fused with the Force. When the Rakatans arrived, and they brought the Force sabers. Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Thanks for pointing out the Force-imbued blades. Comic Skater, just want to drop in and say hello. Let you know that I'm only halfway through chapter 1, so I'm going to put this in my watch list. Cool. Yeah, it'll be recorded. Check it out later. Yeah, good.
Looks like Alex Purdue will be there Saturday night.
He likes the idea of Pacific Rim. Yeah. So that's cool. So I will cut out that little pre-show and at some point tomorrow, it might be later in the day tomorrow, put it out as his own video because I get my daughter tomorrow and probably going to be a pool day. So yeah, we'll put that out tomorrow at some point. And yeah, I'm trying to get some more content out. I don't know if I'm going to, I talked about the anime stuff. I haven't gotten a huge response. What's that?
I watched that. I'm like, oh lordy, worms.
I have never had a video receive that many instant views and instant thumbs up and that much engagement right off the bat. Like weebs everywhere. We're like, oh, what? Like ran to their keyboards. I didn't really get a big response with channel memberships, which is fine. I was just kind of putting it out there, but I still am going to talk about it somehow. Now, if I just do videos publicly, I'm not going to engage in a lot of comments and commentary because it's just overwhelming. I can't, with the chat there. But I'll probably, I'm still going to watch Naruto, and I'll probably, do some reactions to it as I go through or whatever. I don't know. I'll see. I mean, I still could get more memberships. Who knows? But yeah, one way or the other, I'm going to put some anime content that's up to my, a liking there. Like I know there's so many camps in anime, which is just overwhelming. Like Alec Purdue here doesn't really like the shonen stuff. But that's kind of what I like. I like the My Hero Academia, and that's what I'm thinking. Naruto or One Punch Man might be fun, but I like other stuff too. You and I watched Legend of Arslan, Chronicles of Arslan, which we both love.
I love that.
In a standalone complex, Cowboy
they
Bebop.
Still haven't made any more of that, have they?
I don't. They might have actually. It's been so long, I didn't keep up with it. But yeah, maybe
because it kind of stopped, and I was like,
mid-story. Oh. Yeah, annoying. Yeah, I'd like to get back to that. I did see a video game. They did a video game of it too, which looked pretty interesting. So yeah, lots of stuff going on.
Cowboy Bebop fan man is watching Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, he finally started that. Yeah, the animated, not the garbage live action stuff.
Yeah. And to tell you, I do have some discerning about what I watch. I watched the first episode of Cowboy Bebop on Netflix, and I stopped at that because I just could not go.
You're probably like me. You just got a little overwhelmed by the now watch this. I said, correction, I outgrew showing it. Gotcha. Yeah, so it's I'll be doing, some content one way or the other of that. coming up. And like I said, somebody asked me a really cool question too on another channel's comment section. Said it was an honest question. How do you find current authors or current stories that aren't going the woke way or going in the ideology and stuff like that? And that's a good question, because if you definitely want to avoid all that stuff, you go for the older stuff. But if somebody's looking specifically for one reason or another for something current that doesn't have that in it, how do you? And I've got some thoughts on that, so I might record some thoughts on that. Other people really like chiming in on that comment as well, but it'll be fun. All right. So any last words from you, Al? Is that good? You announced everything you want to announce? Pacific Rim, what time? Saturday night at 10?
10 o'clock.
10 p.m.
And
let me give you your channel again here.
yeah, and then 2 weeks after that, a special event, Gone with the Wind, on July 2nd.
Oh, that's gonna be a long one. You're gonna take an intermission, right?
Yeah, we're doing that well. 8 o'clock, and it has a built-in intermission.
Oh, that's right. That's okay. Yeah.
So yeah, I just let it run. Same thing. Basically, kind of the same thing we did with Ben-Hur and Ten Commandments. Just let it run, and people need to pee during intermission. Go for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
There's the link to Big Al's YouTube channel there. Owen Loster, one last super chat as we go out. 499. Thank you, sir. Says I didn't bother watching the Netflix cheap imitation Bebop show. Yeah, me neither. Yeah, I didn't have much faith in it, but
pretty bad.
You even watched the live action Full Metal Alchemist they did too, right? You were like, what?
I saw. Well, I didn't watch like beginning to end. I kind of got like snippets of it just to kind of see what it was like, and I was like, what this? No. I much prefer the animated version of that.
Yeah. All right, folks. Well, thanks for hanging out with us. Hopefully you're enjoying the study. Hopefully you're reading along. I do have links in the description to get your own copy, either Audible or hard copy. Obtain it somewhere and read along with us. It's a lot of fun. Because we're kind of covering the plot, but we're not going into details. You're missing so much of the story if all you're doing is hearing us. Not that you can't do that and enjoy it. Don't go away if that's all you're doing. But yeah. So next week, chapters 3 through 5. And until then, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the hero stories you love. Thanks for watching.